so your 5-paragraph essay, you guys have already drafted your introduction. You should have that all ready to go. You have a good start on drafting your 3 body paragraphs, which you'll continue working on today. And then finally, we have your concluding paragraph. And we're going to use this sheet to help us write a really good conclusion, not just, so that's the story of Joe Schmo. All right? Or, I hope you liked my paper. I hope you enjoyed reading about Joe Schmo. No. Not in 8th grade anymore, okay? We have to wrap it up, conclude it, okay? Remember, your reader or your listener, the things that they remember most are probably the first things you say and the last things you say. So that's why your introduction, your conclusion is really important. You want to get your main ideas out there, your main points out there again. Repeat them. So your concluding paragraph should bring your essay to a close and emphasize your most important overall ideas. Okay, what were the most important things? So you are going to follow the prompts to draft each sentence of your conclusion on the lines provided. So you notice that there are at least 3 sentences here that will be on your conclusion. 1, 2, 3. It's not just a 1-sentence ending. Okay, but 3 sentences. You also, again, will use your ideas that you did on that pre-writing sheet, your main points, to help you come up with what are my main points. Those subtopic ideas are probably your main points. Okay? So you're going to, tomorrow or Monday, we're going to talk about transitional words. You have to have transitional words throughout your paper, in paragraphs, to kind of switch, to kind of wrap up and also to switch to a new topic, okay, to make that transition. Transition means like a change, right? And you try to do it smoothly. You do that by using a transition word that leads in to the next idea. Okay, so when you go to end, you're kind of going to signal that you're ending with a transition. All right, so that's what this is up here. You can choose one of these. So to begin your first sentence, you start with a concluding transitional or a transitional phrase, such as in closing, or therefore, overall. There are a bunch of ideas there. To conclude, okay? Undoubtedly, Joe Schmo was the greatest spy to ever have lived, okay? All in all, Joe Schmo did many things to help out the Patriots during the Revolutionary War. Okay, something like that, where you're kind of closing it. Then you're going to restate, okay, so I gave some ideas, but then you're going to restate your main idea. Look at the last sentence in your introduction. You can use that, but use some different wording. So if it was Joe Schmo made many contributions to the Patriots during the Revolutionary War, now you might say something like, undoubtedly, Joe Schmo was one of the reasons the Patriots won it's not the Civil War, the Revolutionary War. Okay, so you're kind of saying the same thing as you did in your introduction, but you're putting it in different words. Okay? Next, state a summing up sentence that mentions an example or two that stands out in the essay. So, undoubtedly, Joe Schmo was one of the reasons that the Patriots did so well in the Revolutionary War. And then you might mention one of the things Joe Schmo, a big thing that he did. He was able to get in with the British and hear their plans very successfully. Okay, so one thing that kind of sums up their actions, what they did. And now, the last sentence, write a final statement explaining the overall importance of the information or why it is relevant to the reader. Now, sometimes you might have to stretch that a little bit, right? Think of a reason why the reader might want to know this information. Okay? So, you might say just something about spies in general. The life of spies is very dangerous and interesting. And sometimes we say why it's important to the reader, or give them something to think about is another thing to say. So, after all, where would we be without spies? Would we, would the outcome of wars be different without spies? Something like that. Okay, something where you give them something to think about, or you say why this is relevant to them. Relevant, what does relevant mean?
Important.
Yeah, why is it important? Why do they care? Or why should they care? And again, maybe sometimes you have to stretch that a little bit, right? But think of a reason why they'd want to know this information. Or give them something to think about.
Could you just do a plain question and then that be your last sentence, or do you want us to do a couple sentences
Well,
before?
you mean just for this last one?
Before.
It can be one sentence, but it should be a good sentence,
Okay.
or a good question. Or, say the question and say, think about that or something. Ariam?
For the pre-writing organizer, I had a pretty good conclusion sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if I could just take this change some words, but take this and just put it at the end right here because it's a good.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. If you like it, you do that. Okay?
Also, can you use Chromebooks?
Yeah, let me just double check on the Chromebooks. Any other questions? Okay, so I wanted to cover this today since some of you might be ready to move on to that piece. Okay, you might be done with your drafting paragraphs. So, drafting paragraphs due Friday, tomorrow. Those worksheets on the drafting your paragraph 2, 3, and 4. And then drafting your conclusion paragraph or paper due Monday. All right? Got it? Any questions? All right.